buddy Jim Salisbury joining us here because we got a major debate going on right now, Jim. Jamie that still goes to the bank. He doesn't have any mobile apps. No financial mobile apps.
I still
he
use
types
the
in the
post
password.
box. I still get magazines.
Oh, wow.
I kind of have some old school tendencies to me, Jim. I know you're typing in your passwords, right?
Yeah, I type them in.
Me and Jim are simpatico there.
And I still go to the bank, and I actually go interact with other human beings.
Yeah.
That's so funny because my dad says the same thing. He's like, I like to go interact with the bank teller. I want to hear how their day is going.
They're usually
I'm like,
nice people.
Yeah, I'm like, or you can just do it on your phone.
I want the lollipop, too.
Oh, you still get the lollipop. Okay, that's fair. That was one of the perks of going. And then they used to give out.
My daughters love it.
They used to give out the piggy banks, which I loved. Like Commerce Bank back in the day, that doesn't even exist now. Used to give out piggy banks.
Got to go buy the stamps at the post office. You know, you get several choices.
It's a chance to get out the house and go interact with some friends, right? You know them by first name. All right, let's talk about our friends, the Phillies, though, because last night was another great game for them, going up, beating up on the Dodgers 10-1, and a big reason behind that was Trea Turner. 3 hits on the night, a grand slam. I want to start there with Trea's production as he came back from injury to have 5 home runs in 7 games. He's been on a hitting streak. He's been phenomenal since returning back. Jim, are we really getting, between Bryce Harper and Trea Turner, 2 top 5 MVP caliber players for the Phillies in one season right now?
Yeah. I mean, Harper is right there. If you had to pick an MVP today, he's probably right there with Ohtani. I mean, Betts got hurt. He would have been right there. I mean, Trea Turner got hurt and missed time. Otherwise, he'd be right there. But there's a lot of season left for both of those players to make a major push in that, MVP race. And I expect both of them to do that. What we're seeing from Trea Turner right now has been really exciting. It's so exciting the way it's fun to watch him hit because he really knows how to, and it's kind of natural. He keeps that bat kind of on plane through the zone, so I wouldn't call it launch angle, but he finishes high, and he knows how to backspin that ball out of the ballpark, and that's what we're seeing right now is those pull home runs that just boom, 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 carry right out of the ballpark. And last night a grand slam, hitting 340 plus. He's a tremendous offensive talent. He's showing it. I expect to see both of them making a run at that award and probably finishing in the top 10. Trea Turner certainly can make up for that missed time that he had.
So, Jim, we are exactly 20 days away from the MLB Trade Deadline. You have a piece up on allphly.com this week about kind of this pivotal time of the year. You're heading into the All-Star break. Trade Deadline quickly approaches after that. 20 days out. I went yesterday and refreshed myself with Dave Dombrowski's trade history across his career, and there is some major Hall of Fame movement throughout his career. 20 days out, what is your impression? Obviously, we know bullpen arms are usually something all playoff teams try to add, maybe a right-handed outfield bat of the sort. Do you feel as though I think they're definitely going to be active. I think that's fair to say. But do you have any kind of sense of major to minor, or is that still an ongoing kind of evaluation here?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call any trade minor for the simple reason sometimes it's that small around the edges trade that you make, the Scott Air, Joe Blanton, that, helps lift you over the top. It's not always the Cliff Lee trade. I mean, sometimes you need a Cliff Lee trade. You need an ace, but they're not in that position. They have done so much of their heavy lifting in recent off seasons that I'm not sure there's a lot of heavy lifting at this trade deadline. I do believe there are improvements to be made. I do believe they need a bullpen arm. They're very heavy in lefties. They could use maybe another right-handed kind of stun gun late in the game. And if he has playoff experience, all the better. Strikeout arm, all the better. And I do believe they need help in the outfield to help the outfield production in left field, and probably in a platoon situation with Marsh, who hit a home run last night, who's hit righties very well. If you could find a kind of a left field type that you could platoon with him, and the cumulative player might be pretty good. And there are guys out there. There are there are right-handed hitting outfielders that can produce. I mean, Lane Thomas in Washington might be a nice fit. He hits
I wanted
lefties.
him last year. Yeah.
Yeah, he might be a really, really nice fit. I'm sure they're considering a guy like that. Taylor Ward in Anaheim, similar, hits lefties, might be a really nice fit. We're going to see Brent Rooker come through here with Oakland later this week. Good, productive hitter. He's not going to be cheap. He's a DH. He doesn't play defense. That's a strike against him. Because when you have this quality of a team and this quality of a pitching staff, defense really matters. We've seen it in the past over here. It's a big reason Kyle Schwarber is your DH, not your left fielder. They're trying to improve their defense. So Rooker, a productive hitter, but profiles as a DH on a team loaded with DHs. Strikes out. That's not ideal on a team that can go periods where they strike out a lot and swing a lot. And there's others out there. I mean, I'm a Tyler O'Neill fan, strikes out a little bit, but he produces. But the Red Sox are right there. They're right there. So they've improved. I doubt he'll probably be moved. And there, Tommy Pham is like this traditionally mentioned right-handed bat trade candidate. I've never sensed a ton of interest from the Phillies. Who knows if this is the year? And of course, Luis Robert is out there. I just don't know if they have an appetite for or a need for a deal that big because, the Chicago White Sox being the kind of train wreck they are with a young new general manager, he's going to try to make a defining, franchise-changing deal for this guy and bring in a humongo haul of talent. And I don't know that the Phillies want to do that, kind of blow up their farm system and some of their top guys to get him. Because they've set a very high price on him. He's a good player. He's under contract, but I think the Phillies are going to be protective of some of their top guys. And, I hear a lot of, is this the year to go all in? To me, they're already all in. You have a $300 million first baseman, a $300 million shortstop, a $100 million right fielder, a $100 million catcher, 100 plus in Aaron Nola, and a guy next 3 years is going to make 43 per over 3 years in Zach Wheeler. Who am I missing? I mean, you're already in.
Kyle Schwarber's like 80 million, so he's close.
80 million.
Yeah.
You've built this team over the last 4 or 5 years around stars. I don't know that you need another star when I think a few tweaks might get you to where you need to go. I still think the biggest July acquisitions this team's going to make are Real Muto, Harper, and Schwarber. Schwarber certainly made his impact last night, big hit. Harper will, like I said, he's going to finish in probably the top 5 of the MVP. I fully expect that kind of second half. And Real Muto is, they're being smart with him, and he's going to come back healthy, and you're going to get a lot out of him. So I think, to win this World Series, which, that's the stakes. They need to win the World Series one of these next couple of years here. Star talent, big payrolls, not getting any younger. They need to win one. You're going to win this thing with the guys that are currently here. The guy that might come in is going to help, but you're going to win this thing if you win it with the guys that are currently here. And that's what you need most is production from the guys that you've gone out over the last few off seasons and brought in here.
Yeah, you bring up some great points because it is a matter of who's selling, who's interested, and what are they looking for in return for a trade, because there's no reason to blow up the farm system. There's no reason to have to give up too much for the Phillies, especially with them already having so much talent that they've invested in. But as you mentioned, the stars that are already getting paid on the Phillies, there's some more stars that are hoping their name gets called this upcoming weekend, because with the trade deadline coming up, means the Major League Baseball draft is coming up Sunday. So, Jim, want to get your thoughts with the draft on Sunday. What are you expecting? We know we have the press conference today that we'll be tuning in for, as Brian Barber, who is the assistant GM for amateur scouting for the Phillies, is going to be speaking to the media today at 1 o'clock. So we'll hear more from him later. But for your side, what do you think the Phillies are going to be looking for, especially in the first round? What do you expect that they're going to be looking to draft?
Yeah, I think they're going to be looking to draft the player that they feel will be the best, most impactful big leaguer eventually. They're picking 27th. There's no way to crystal ball this thing. They're picking 27th. So there's 26 variables in front of them. So it's impossible. I've heard them linked to a catcher, a couple high school arms, an infielder. High school arms are generally the riskiest demographic in the draft, but Brian Barber has not been afraid to go that route with Abel and Painter. So if they like an arm and see the upside, I think they could go there. They could go a lot of college arms in this draft. Not sure what's going to be there at 27, but they're going to pick the guy that they think can be the best big leaguer. I don't think, when they picked Justin Crawford a couple of years ago, I don't think they said, we need a center fielder. No, we need a guy who's going to be a good big leaguer. And, it's nice that center field has been an issue around here for a long time, and maybe they have one coming. That's gravy, but you got to pick the guy who's going to be the best big leaguer, in my opinion. And I think that's the way Brian Barber will approach it. I mean, they, look at last year. They had Trea Turner at shortstop and a young, improving Alec Bohm at third base, and they still picked a left side infielder because they think thought Aiden Miller will end up being the best big leaguer. And that's why they picked him, and looks like a pretty good pick. He's progressing quite nicely. A lot of teams like him at the trade deadline. I don't think you're getting him, but he might be a really good one. But if they said, we're kind of set on the left side of the infield, we're not going to go near that kid. I just don't think they operate that way. I don't think you can operate that way. This isn't the NBA where the guy steps in the next year. This isn't the NFL where the guy steps in the next year. There is the occasional Paul Skeens, but it takes time. There is a development curve that has to be, navigated over. And I think, they will take that into account. And if it takes 3, 4, 5 years to get the best big leaguer here, that's the way I think they'll go. But at 27, it's too hard to crystal ball what they're going to end up with.
Yeah. Jim, I'm curious, obviously all your years traveling around and experiencing all the different Major League Baseball stadiums, you're not taking in the fan experience. You're not out on Waverly Ave and eating hot dogs and doing beer snake cups in the outfield and all that. Although at times I'm sure you wish you were. I just got back from Wrigley Field. I had been there before, but never for a Phillies series. Wrigleyville is just like the absolute coolest, and Wrigley Park is amazing. I'm curious, what was your favorite road experience? I think I'm up to 14 or 15 stadiums myself. You probably are at damn near all of them. What was your personal favorite on the road?
The only one I've never been to is the New Texas ballpark. In some cities, I've been to 3 of them, Atlanta. Yeah. I love getting on the train. I love staying in downtown Chicago and taking the Red Line up and getting off at Addison and walking through Wrigleyville. That's a great experience. Walk by Murphy's bleachers and then up to the press entrance. It really bustles. So Wrigley is a great experience. San Francisco is really tough to beat. I love downtown ballparks. I love it when you can walk to work, walk to the stadium. Though downtown St. Louis is really kind of beat. They roll up the sidewalks at night, and there's been a lot of migration out of the city of business. It's kind of dead downtown, for lack of a better. But, that ballpark does come alive when the Cardinals play downtown. It really lights up that downtown area. And that's kind of a fun experience, walking to the ballpark in St. Louis on a game day or a game night. But to me, walking down from downtown San Francisco, walking down to 24 Willie Mays Plaza, that's the best. I really love that ballpark. For a lot of reasons. It's very cozy. It was not built on a big, huge footprint of land like the one in Detroit, big footprint. Even Citizens Bank Park is built in the middle of a parking lot, so they had kind of room to spread their wings. They wedged in that ballpark between, a piece of San Francisco Bay and the subway or the trolley line, and so it's kind of cozy. The concourses are not real wide. It's got that old school feel. But when the Giants are good and you go there to a day game and that brilliant sunshine, but the cool air and the beautiful view of San Francisco Bay and the Alameda Hills, and the press box is very low there because they wanted to optimize the view from the luxury suite. So they put those upstairs, and the press box is right down in the middle of the fans. Oh, nice. So much if you were a scout, you could chart a picture from the press box there. So you're right in the middle of it. And the crowd, when the Giants are good, is electric. The smells from their concession stands.
The Gilroy garlic fries. I was trying to tell Renee about them. Oh,
The garlic smell in that ballpark.
Oh,
it's funny. I overheard a scout once. This is years ago when that ballpark first opened. I actually used it in one of my Sunday columns at the Inquirer. I overheard these two scouts in the press box talking. They were at the new stadium, and the guy goes, "Hey, you used to go to Candlestick Park, and all you smelled was marijuana. Here, you come here, and all you smell is garlic." And that was really funny. But, when the Giants are good, that crowd is very supportive and electric. Ballpark is cozy. It's picturesque. The smells, all your senses are in play. And when the Giants are winning in the 8th inning, they play that Journey song.
Yeah.
When the lights go down in the city or whatever that is, and that really is kind of cool to hear. 38,000 people, 40,000 people singing that song. So I would recommend to anybody. Love a day game there. Giants. 24 Willie Mays Plaza is something to see. Love Dodger Stadium. Love San Diego. Love Citizens. Love Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's cool when the Phillies are out.
Pittsburgh's the one I got to get to. I've heard great stuff about PNC.
Yeah, you'd like Pittsburgh when the Phillies are out there because it's a really small downtown, compact downtown, and all you see is Phillies red all over the place.
Yeah,
and the ballpark is really pretty. So there's so many of them. Minnesota's a cool ballpark.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I know in the chat, everyone's loving your stories. It is great to hear your take on the different ballparks and all the funny behind the scenes things that happen. One last thing I do want to get to before we let you go, Jim, and appreciate always your incredible insight. Ranger Suarez. I feel like we're always talking about Ranger with you, but Ranger had for the first time in his career back-to-back games where he allowed 5 or more runs. Obviously, it was not a good showing this past weekend. What are your thoughts on Ranger Suarez now? Obviously, we are going through kind of like the second time around seeing teams, and the film is out on Ranger. His name is no longer just something that we know, but he's become even more of a Major League Baseball household name. What are your thoughts on his play and really how he can get back to being fantastic? Crazy thing is he still has a 2.58 ERA, but with that, it has been a slight drop off for Ranger as of late, especially in those recent outings.
Definitely a drop off. I think some of that may be just normal leveling out, but I would explain his recent struggles this way. He's human. He kind of pitched otherworldly for close to 3 months, and he's had a couple tough ones. I think he's been up a little bit with his breaking ball, and so that's just command of all his pitches. Maybe been over the plate a little too much, and he's a guy who, though he's pretty firm with everything, he needs to locate it well. He's not 99. That doesn't give you a ton of margin for error. So I just think he's had a couple tough ones, but a lot of the great ones, a lot of the good ones go through this, and they learn more from games in which they struggle than they do from games in which they shine. So maybe this is a little bit of learning experience. Maybe he's learning more about his body, how it responds in the heat like we've had recently, how it responds to a jump in innings, the most innings he's ever had at a mid-season point. There could be some what they call dead arm. It's just a little bit of fatigue that your body gets its second wind. Eventually, I think maybe he'll pitch an inning in the All-Star game. He'll pitch Friday? I think it's a big start for him. Big start for the Phillies because, they rely on Ranger Suarez, and you need to know he's okay, and you need to know he's going to go into the All-Star break with some confidence and a good frame of mind. I think it's important for him to go into the All-Star break feeling good about himself. So after a couple tough ones, it would be nice to see him have a good showing Friday night for just a lot of reasons. Maybe get an inning in the All-Star game, kind of like a bullpen session. Personally, I would prefer that he go to the All-Star game, tip his hat, go to the post-game buffet, and then go to the airport. But who knows? And get a little rest over the break and come back and see what he's got. But I'm not alarmed. We've seen pitchers go through this before. They're human beings. Some nights you're up, some nights you're down. He was up an awful lot the first 3 months. He's had a little tough spell here. I think he can bounce back.
Jim, just on that, do you think part of it is team, because there's obviously several things that go into the pie here. Do you think teams are approaching him a little bit differently? And by that, I mean trying to jump his first pitch a little bit more because he throws so many first pitch strikes?
Yeah, I think, and when it's not a quality strike, that's when you get in trouble. But yeah, I do. I haven't seen any data on it, but I think that's the way I would approach him. This is a guy who looks to get ahead, and if he's going to leave one over the plate early, don't miss it.
Yeah.
Don't miss it. But that could be it. You talk about having I think people have seen enough on him over the years, kind of know how he pitches. I just think his success early on it's what made Roy Halladay successful.
Yeah.
No, Roy Halladay executed pitches. You heard him talk about that ad nauseum. He I'm going to throw this sinker. I'm going to throw this cutter. I'm going to throw this split change. I need to execute it. If he didn't execute it, like anybody else, he could get banged up. I just think it comes down to really executing pitches. Maybe this is a little bit of a learning experience for him, but he's still awfully good. It'll take him any day, but he's very important to this team, and it will be nice for the fans, for the organization, and for Ranger himself to see a nice start on Friday night.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, especially with having a start like Ranger did, where you're having these records that you're breaking and the superstar play, that's the best we've seen in like the modern era. A lot of things we're going back to in the last 100 years for Ranger that he is showing us. He is human. And as you mentioned, he should be able to learn a lot from this. But Jim, we had a chance to learn a lot from you today, even hearing about your ballparks that you've enjoyed going to visit and some great stories. As always, we appreciate you for taking time to join us and weigh in on the Phillies.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you this. There's not a ballpark that I've been to that I didn't like, even like a high school field. I love ballparks, especially ones like I'm just talking like a ballpark like in a community. I love a ballpark that is literally a ballpark that has trees. Trees where the fans sit. You can sit under in the shade.
As a New Englander, Jim, did you hit the Cape Cod Summer League much when you were up there?
Not much, but I had over times. I had seen some games up there, and a lot of those are community fields, like I'm talking about, where you can sit under a tree. It feels like you're in a park. And oh, by the way, there's a diamond. There's a baseball diamond.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to catch a game there, so that's on the bucket list for sure.
Yeah, it's a great point. That is a great point. The simple things like being able to sit under a tree and taking a baseball game.
Smell some garlic.
Exactly. But Jim, thank you as always, and we appreciate all the great work that you're doing and love seeing all your fantastic coverage. So we'll be talking more soon, buddy. See you.
Thanks. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
See you, Jim.
We all silly like the mayor.